Hello everyone, this is Spinosaurus here, and I'm here today to introduce the third part of my Why Spinosaurus Should Be the King of Dinosaurs series. Now, years ago I made the first part, and then years later I made the second part. And for some reason the second part was just not as good, so this is basically a video to cover the second part and a third part. Now, as for the first part, that was hearable, and people have been making comments on how I've been taking info from Jurassic Park or other things to prove how Spinosaurus should be the king. And let me just say one thing. I did not, and repeat, did not take any info from Jurassic Park whatsoever. All my information has come from legitimate books and other documentaries that talk about Spinosaurus, lack of thereof, but it's there. Just because I used the footage from that does not mean that I did use that information. I was just using that footage because there's very few videos of Spinosaurus that are in good fashion. There's a lot of pictures, yeah, but it's like how interesting are pictures compared to motion picture, you know? Anyway, because there was a lack of those, I had to use scenes from Jurassic Park 3, and as we all know, that's the whole reason why Spinosaurus has been brought to the spotlight in the first place. Anyway, I'm here on this video to clarify some things. Basically to just, you know, clarify some things I said in the first video for this series, and also to add in some more updated information since years have gone by and more information has been added about Spinosaurus. Okay, now let's go. Now, in the first part of this three-part video, I said that Spinosaurus, his bite force, was stronger than T-Rex's, or at least I think I may have said that, I don't know. If I did, I apologize, and I will say this. T-Rex does have a stronger bite force, perhaps one of the most strongest bite forces of any carnivorous dinosaur. However, though, just because you have a stronger bite force does not totally mean that you will just win automatically in every single fight against a dinosaur that you come across. Like, T-Rex being there does not make an automatic win. You gotta realize that, guys. Like, you have a stronger bite force, and yes, in Jurassic Park 3, T-Rex did bite Spinosaurus in the neck, which should have been the killing blow, and I kinda agree with that. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I guess that bite should have killed it. But just because that's how that fight went does not mean that's how every fight between them would have went. Like, there's several different ways that this could have gone. Like, in reality, would any dinosaur really want T-Rex to go for the neck, or allow it to go for the neck right away? Especially a giant carnivorous dinosaur. Like, no, of course not. Like, of course that's not gonna happen. So, I'm gonna explain to you other scenarios on how the fight could have gone, and explain to you the weaponry that Spinosaurus has on him, because he has his own arsenal. I mean, he's a carnivorous dinosaur for a reason, right? And no, it's not just for fishing and only evolved to take down fish. I mean, it's a freaking carnivorous dinosaur. It's meant to do more than just that, I bet you. As far as we know. Okay, so in this scenario, I'm going to explain the scenario that should have happened in Jurassic Park 3, with T-Rex winning this game. Alright, so in Jurassic Park 3, Spinosaurus met T-Rex because those guys were running away from him and blah blah blah, chasing blah blah blah. Anyway, so T-Rex met the Spinosaurus and was about to engage him in battle. Spinosaurus and the T-Rex got too close, and the T-Rex got to his neck, and then got to his neck and should have killed it. And in this scenario, he did kill the Spinosaurus, because he got him in the neck with his bone-crushing jaws. And that's what should have happened. Now, in scenario 2, which explains kinda part of what actually did happen in the movie, but in a more realistic way, this is how I see Spinosaurus winning this fight against T-Rex. So basically, same introduction, T-Rex meets Spinosaurus, but this time Spinosaurus either did not let T-Rex get to his neck, or Spinosaurus was able to strike first and latch on his jaws to T-Rex's neck. Now, This time, however, it was not his jaws that did the work, because Spinosaurus, having the weaker jaw muscles, wouldn't really be able to deliver a bone-crushing bite, although his teeth are sharp as hell. Instead, what would happen is that Spinosaurus used his claws, his longer, apparently fish hook-like claws, to basically grab T-Rex and, well, as was done in the movie, twist his neck. Or maybe some other things. Now, before I get to other scenarios, I should probably explain other features that Spinosaurus have, or other past advantages that Spinosaurus has in a fight against T-Rex, before I explain any more scenarios that could explain how he would win, or at least have a chance to win, or at least end up surviving the fight in general. Anyway, I might as well explain the other perks he has. Okay, so now, Spinosaurus's abilities. Let's start with its size, since that's the most obvious feature. Spinosaurus is regarded as the largest and longest land predator of all time, so far at least. No, and that's really saying something. That means basically out of all the carnivorous dinosaurs, Spinosaurus is the largest of them all. And that alone was enough for people to put Spinosaurus as the king for some people. Others have disagreed and said that just because Spinosaurus is bigger doesn't make him the king. Now, I'm going to bring up something interesting. Back when T-Rex was first discovered, he was the largest carnivorous dinosaur found so far when he was first found. That automatically just put him as king of dinosaurs right there, let alone his abilities, which are discovered a little later. I'm just saying, it's a little unfair. Like, T-Rex straight up got to be the king just because he was that big. And the Spinosaurus being bigger, and now we're all like, oh no, he's not the king just because he's bigger doesn't make him the king. I mean, T-Rex has this, T-Rex has that, T-Rex has blah blah blah. You can tell I'm being annoyed about all this T-Rex stuff. Anyway, yeah, so Spinosaurus is a pretty large carnivore, but that's not the only thing he has. That's not the only reason why I say he's the king. Like, in part 1 of my video, I may have mentioned that his size pretty much makes him that. Like, I meant to say that's just part of the reason. Like, there are other things he has too, like his claws, for example. Like I mentioned earlier in this video alone too, that Spinosaurus does have pretty large claws, and he does. He has longer limbs than other dinosaurs his size in comparison to body size, like in proportion, I mean. And his claws are actually pretty useful too, not just for hunting, for fishing as well, which people know all too well. I mean, that's basically what his family, Dinosaur Kingdom does. And yeah, I mean, I could see those things being used for hunting, you know? Like, it's not like they can't be. I mean, possibilities are endless, so I mean, those things could be pretty good for stabbing a prey, or at least holding it down while he... I mean, hell, just holding it down could have been enough to kill it if he were to use his claws. So, like, just go stab it into their prey's flesh, you know? Or just do like Raptors does, only instead with their feet, just like, he could be doing it with their hands, you know? I mean, I'm just saying. There's a lot of things he could be doing with those. Okay, now it's time to talk about the environment that Spinosaurus lived in. And when I say environment, I mean environment and the other creatures that lived with Spinosaurus. And there is a lot more interesting cast of characters in this, I mean, with Spinosaurus rather than with Tyrannosaurus. I'll say that right now. Well, at least to me it is. I mean, other people have their other opinions, and I respect that. Yeah, so for the environment, it is pretty much well different from Tyrannosaurus's. That's one thing you got to remember. The environment the Spinosaurus lived in was a lot more, let's say, wetter. Like, there was a lot more areas of water in which Spinosaurus lived, because where there's water, there's fish, right? So, I mean, there you go. So, Spinosaurus would probably be more adapted to swimming, which gives it a water advantage right there. It can swim. I don't know how useful that would be in battle, but yeah, I mean, you never know. When you have a battle, it ends up going to the water, or takes place in the water, you never know. Anyway, so that gives it a water advantage. It can swim in the water if necessary, in order maybe to escape it or to use the advantage. I mean, as far as we know, Spinosaurus could have like lived like a crocodile. Probably could have swam like one too. Who knows? Besides that, there's also the creatures that lived alongside Spinosaurus as well, such as Sarcosuchus for one. Like, I know there were giant crocodilians around with T-Rex at the time that T-Rex was alive, but it's like the ones that were around Spinosaurus were probably, and I say with emphasis probably because we don't know for sure, bigger. I mean, T-Rex had like what, Dinosuchus or something like that, I think. I mean, I forgot to check, but I think it was Dinosuchus. And then Spinosaurus was Sarcosuchus, and Sarcosuchus was supposedly longer and a lot more ferocious given the animals that it had to tackle, such as Titan, which was a sauropod dinosaur. So not only do you have giant crocodilians, but also Titan, a giant sauropod dinosaur in its environment. And did Spinosaurus tackle Titan? Probably not, but I mean, you never know. Maybe it attacked the juveniles or something. You never know. And Sarcosuchus was not the only carnivorous dinosaur. I mean, carnivore around Spinosaurus. There was also land-based competition in the form of a carnosaur, and that carnosaur was Carcharodontosaurus. And that dinosaur also has a stronger bite force than Spinosaurus. Probably not stronger than T-Rex's, but its teeth, it also has specialization in its teeth. And that specialization is basically the same as, well, sharks. That's why it's called Carcharodontosaurus. I mean, Carcharodon. Well, that's a story for another time. So, you have Carcharodontosaurus, who is also bigger than T-Rex, supposedly as well. Which means Spinosaurus not only had a water competitor, Sarcosuchus, but a land-based competitor, Carcharodontosaurus. So that's already two other carnivores. Let's also not to mention Rugops, who of course would not be a threat to maybe an adult Spinosaurus, but maybe a juvenile Spinosaurus, or not juvenile, a young Spinosaurus, like maybe kid Spinosaurus or baby Spinosaurus. A Rugops would probably be a dangerous animal to it. And I know T-Rex hatchlings and kids or whatever, and all that stuff probably had their own predators to fear, such as raptors and such, but I mean, you know, a raptor to a Rugops. Which one? I mean, come on, common sense, people. Which one do you think is going to win? Anyway, but back to Spinosaurus. Like, so you have all three of these guys competing with Spinosaurus, and it's like, obviously, Spinosaurus would have to learn to fight, because in its entire span of its lifetime, of course, obviously it's going to encounter at least more than 3 or 4 times a Carcharodontosaurus, and it being in the water definitely means it's going to have constant encounters with the Sarcosuchus. And you think Spinosaurus is just going to like take their crap? Like, a Sarcosuchus comes along as a Spinosaurus and the Spinosaurus is going to run away. Like, come on. An animal works hard for its food, and it's not going to just like run every time it sees someone coming for it. Like, yeah, I know Sarcosuchus would be dangerous to Spinosaurus given how it's more aquatically adapted than Spinosaurus is to the water. But, I mean, Spinosaurus, I mentioned again for like the 3rd time, its claws and teeth. Like, of course it's going to challenge it if it could. If it could. If it can't and knows that it's dangerously outmatched, of course then it can just leave. Or if it's really that brave-hearted, stand and fight. You know. And against the Carcharodon, and of course, I mean, it would fight the Carcharodontosaurus. Like, that was shown in this one BBC documentary, Planet Dinosaur, I think it was. And it showed how, and there's one clip called Balance of Power, and it showed how a fight between the Spinosaurus and the Carcharodontosaurus would go. And, I mean, obviously stuff like that would happen between them in real life, or used to happen in real life, I mean. Because, given how they're both in the same area, of course, fights between them would break out sometimes. Now, tell me, what large predators were around at the same time and the same place as Tyrannosaurus Rex? Come on, tell me. I'll give you moments. Yeah, exactly. So far, none. The only other carnivores, or even close to carnivores, would be some small dromaeosaurids, maybe Dromaeosaurus itself, and you have the what do you call them? Meat/plant-eating Ornithomimus. Oh, omnivore. That's right, omnivore. Yeah, the omnivore Ornithomimus, but an Ornithomimus will not compete with T-Rex. It was probably prey for Tyrannosaurus, actually. As far as Dromaeosaurs go, once T-Rex reaches a certain size, Dromaeosaurs would be pretty much no threat to a fully grown Tyrannosaurus. Like, it'd be no problem. So, basically, at a certain point, T-Rex would have nothing to fear for another T-Rex. Spinosaurus would have Sarcosuchus, Cacodontosaurus, occasionally maybe a very angry Paralotitan. And then there's also other Spinosauruses. So yeah, I think it has a lot to fear at the same time to defend itself against and fight. So yeah, of course it would have to learn to fight and therefore give Spinosaurus experience fighting and dealing with other large carnivorous dinosaurs. T-Rex, if it were to fight a Spinosaurus, would have no experience whatsoever fighting other large dinosaurs besides it. So besides its own species, given if it actually has done that before, depending on individual Tyrannosaurus. So there you have it. Spinosaurus has experience fighting multiple large carnivores. T-Rex only has one, and would T-Rex fight Dinosuchus? No, it would not. This brings me to my last segment, which is about the prey items. Now, Tyrannosaurus would have, let's say, Neurotitan, Minosaurus, Triceratops, maybe Ankylosaurus, rarely. So, given those animals, that does give T-Rex a bit of upper hand when it comes to knowing how to deal with prey items, and thus that probably gives it its own fighting experience. And Spinosaurus, on the other hand, given the way it's designed, he gets the best of both worlds, basically. He knows how to hunt things in the water, and he knows how the watering holes, basically all things that have to do with water work. And then, not only that, but also, there's a land-based prey too, like Ouranosaurus, which I think very likely could have hunted. And then, maybe, like I said earlier, young juvenile Paralotitans, which it probably also would have hunted, probably on a rare occasion may have hunted as well. No, I'm not saying that it basically was a land-based predator and not a fisher, because I know Spinosaurus did eat fish. I mean, comparing hunting fish to hunting other dinosaurs, I think hunting fish would be easier. So maybe during, let's say, maybe wet season or so, whatever, Spinosaurus would go for fish, and then when it gets drier or when more available, it would go after land-based prey. So yeah, as far as we know, Spinosaurus does have less things to hunt, and that gives it a little bit of a leeward disadvantage when it comes to prey items. But I mean, at the same time, it gives it more food, because not only do you have species of dinosaur which you can hunt, but you have like a lot of species of fish, and the fish were huge. Like, I've seen pictures of them, so yeah, of course it has more prey items, so that means Spinosaurus has more of an advantage when it comes to survival. T-Rex is not one to fish, so yeah, there you go. So in the end, guys, it's like what all scientists would say. It's pretty much impossible to tell who would win in real life, because these two different kinds of dinosaurs lived in two different times and two different continents. So, I mean, it's hard to tell exactly who would win. I mean, aside from living in different continents, they also went extinct in two different ways. Spinosaurus, due to, as far as we know, it went extinct due to maybe climate change or something like that, and it got too dry or something. And T-Rex, apparently, a bunch of volcanoes and a big freaking asteroid from outer space, as far as we know, as I say again, killed that. So, that's just one difference they have. So, it's hard to tell exactly who would win exactly, because we are still learning about both these dinosaurs, Spinosaurus in particular, because we know so little about Spinosaurus, and we know so much more about T-Rex, but even that's still just little, because these are extinct animals, and they've been extinct for millions and millions of years, so in the end of the day, I mean, whatever conclusion anyone, including myself, would come to, it's not going to be the most accurate conclusion. Like, you can't really accurately just say one kind of dinosaur is going to win against the other all the time because it has this or has that, because there are several factors you have to put in, because in order to accurately tell who's going to win in a fight between two animals, you have to judge its size, their age, their abilities, their health condition. I mean, is it healthy or is it weak due to disease or an injury? I mean, is it too old? Is it too young? What's its environment like? And many other factors. So it's just hard to tell exactly who's going to win in the end. So even though this video is called "Why Spinosaurus Should Be the King of Dinosaurs," well, I mean, it's more likely just reasons why Spinosaurus is just not a total pushover, because he's not. It's not. And you Tyrannosaurus fans have to always remember that. You have to always remember, and at least get it through your head, that T-Rex is not God. Like, it's not an unbeatable monster. Like, don't compare T-Rex to like Godzilla or whatever. Like, it's not like T-Rex can be invincible. It can be taken down. He or she, whatever gender it is, can be taken down. I mean, just by the animals in its environment alone could take it down, let alone other carnivores from different time periods. So I mean, you gotta remember that. And whenever people mention how Spinosaurus can do stuff, they're not saying Spinosaurus is the undisputed king of everything that is dinosaur. Like, no. That just means, we're just saying that Spinosaurus can do stuff too. Like, hey, we got Spinosaurus over here, he can do stuff too. And same with other carnivores like Giganosaurus, Gardanosaurus, Mothlosaurus, they all, I mean, and then Saurophygonax, they all have their chances too of becoming the new king. So I think, given how we have a lot more information about dinosaurs nowadays than we did before 10 years ago or so, like, it's obvious to me how and why Tyrannosaurus is like grown at being the king is being challenged now. Like, you can't just ignore it now. At this point, it's like there's no definite king now. You basically have like you can give titles. Like, you can say T-Rex is the king of dinosaurs, and then you can say Giganosaurus is like, I don't know, maybe the king of the lower hemisphere when it comes to dinosaurs, and then Spinosaurus being like the pharaoh or whatever, because it's from Egypt or something. Like, you might as well just give dinosaurs like titles like hollow titles now, instead of just like giving them this title because it's like this or like that. Like, yeah, you know. So go ahead, call T-Rex the king, but I mean, that doesn't really mean much anymore now, given what we know about it. I mean, we're not even sure if T-Rex is even a hunter at all to begin with. I mean, it's still it's still an argument on whether it's a hunter or a scavenger. So you have that to remember. But like I said earlier, and I mean, you know, we don't have all the information, so hard to tell. Anyway, that's it for the video, guys. See you next time.